God. Hey, our wonderful viewers and friends. I hope you're doing well. This is Queen Mo, and here with another show. And as you can see with the topic, it is going to be hot, 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 hot. Today, I did a big job of sending invitations earlier, hoping that you're going to be tuned in and that you now know that Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, it's right here on the Queen Mo Show. So, before I further ado, I'm going to invite Susan. Susan, karibu sana.
Thank you. I'm happy to be on. How is everybody?
I hope everybody is fine. Right now, they haven't yet tuned in, but they'll be tuning
I hope
in
you had a lovely
sometime
day.
very soon. Yeah. So, but anyway, today we have a very interesting topic. It's about all the lies that have been told, not just by the government, but generally in this life that we have lived. I think this is just another day. I hope you guys had a nice weekend. I hope you were not told any more lies over the weekend because it looks like lies are the order of the day. Telling lies every single day. That just seems to be it, you know? And even worse than lies is there's one thing to tell lies, and then there's another one to actually be deceitful, you know? To have a personality that is deceitful. I remember getting into so much trouble as a kid if I ever
Yeah,
told a lie. Do you remember that,
yeah.
Susan? I
Yes,
used to get
yes.
so much trouble as a kid. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
one thing you're so scared of is being caught telling lies. Telling lies was fine,
Yeah,
it was actually exciting, but getting caught telling a lie, you know? So basically, it's so unfortunate that we are in this dilemma. What do you think, Susan? I think, or I'll let you tell me something about your experience telling lies.
Oh, well, definitely we're in a new season, the post-truth season, where telling lies and gaslighting people literally is the order of the day. And like you said, it's cross-sectoral. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was just looking up, you know, something about it, and I found a definition. Actually, in 2016, the Oxford Dictionary selected the post-truth word as, the word for the year, and it defined it as circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than than appeals to emotion and personal belief. And then we
Can you
have
say that again,
euphemism.
Susan? Can you say it again slowly for the rest of us?
Yes,
Okay.
so the Oxford Dictionary has defined uh, post-truth as circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief.
Mm-hmm.
And euphemisms you'll find connected with this are when people say they misspoke,
Mm-hmm.
alternative fact, fake news, and simply lies. Lies is not a euphemism, but the euphemisms are misspeaking, alternative facts, and fake news. And of course, there's the post-truth. In fact, I was listening to Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, and he was talking about it, and he said that the post-truth era or the post-truth has, in fact, affected the Brexit vote, in his view, and also the 2016 US elections.
Mm-hmm.
So, so something interesting that I also found that he said, this same rabbi, he said, what are the factors? One of them is the multiplication of new media. So information is moving really fast, and there's no way of establishing or checking facts. And so a lie can travel around the world before truth has had time to put its shoes on. So somebody can post something and it's almost instantaneous. Information is received instantaneously, globally, from people who are following that person or whatever it is. So this is what we're dealing with. And then I watched Alex Edmonds on TED Talk, and he said this about it. He was talking about it, and he summarized 4 main points. He said, uh, only if it's true can it be fact. So what he was addressing is how can we distinguish truth in this post-truth era. So he picked up 4 facts, and it's a very nice video. Only if it's true can it be fact. Only if it's representative can it be data. Only if it is supportive can it be evidence. And only if it's evidence can we move from a post-truth world to a pro-truth world. And literally, so much information, we're bombarded with so much information, and we need to to really be very careful even about reposting information without verifying it. And some of the other information that that I found that connected or related to that was that it's important to actively seek other viewpoints on issues, and also to listen to experts. So what he said, that fact checking is not enough, because it's what happens is that a person takes a news story and it becomes news. So there can just be one outlier story, one example, and then it's not supported by substantive facts, a lot of facts and research, and then it becomes a truth, and it's retweeted and retweeted, or it's moved from place to place, and it's very difficult to change people's opinion once they've decided that this is what is true. So what he was saying is that we need to guard against that. We need, apart from fact checking, we need to go beyond, and we need to look at, find more data on the issue, not just one story, and on the issue. And the other thing, that mistake we do, is depending on the way you were viewing your viewpoint, we misinterpreted the data. And so what we need to know is that a story is not fact. So a single story is not fact. We have to have data. Fact is not data unless it is representative. And so data is not evidence unless it's supportive. So one thing to check is to make sure that you actively seek other viewpoints. So for instance, like now we're having a discussion. So we have opposing views on the issue. So we have this discussion which will help us at the end of the day determine what is the truth and what is not. And then when we're listening to one another, we should listen to understand and not to argue. So you need to understand what the other point is. I know we see a lot of arguments on the social media, which depending on your cultural background or your education or other factors, your preference may not you may not resonate well with you. But it's important for us to listen so that we can firm up or really discern whether or not what we believe is the truth. And then, of course, the other one is to listen to experts. And the more published they are, you look in journals just to find data that will really support what you're saying. And we know that there have been issues with the some of the ideologies that have been the West has been that has been part of the West's foreign policy to the to the developing world, or to Africa and other developing nations. Uh, so and we have to interrogate get those from our point of view. And we've come face to face with this in Kenya. In fact, when I was picking what I was going to talk about on our daily roundup, I found that this is an issue we are dealing with today. Even the headings of the videos and stuff like that, you can see things like Kingdom of Lies and stuff like that. And like for instance, we had the most recent event in Embu, which was very sort of a very interesting event for us as Kenyans, because we had um, the current president and deputy president and a former deputy president and a former president present at the same meeting. So again, what happened in that particular meeting? The president stood up to talk about some gains of the Kenya Kwanza government, but because the population were not very encouraged, or they didn't believe what he was saying, they disrupted his speech. He tried to speak about two issues in particular. One was affordable housing, and the other one was the SHA shift issue. That's the hospital, the insurance, health insurance. And they drowned him out. I mean, you could hardly hear him speaking, and they drowned him out. They really did not want to hear anything about that. So as I was looking at through the videos or the news, um, let's call it the truth contest. The truth contest. This is what has been going on, and that's the heading that was given, I think, by Citizen TV to the issues. And they were talking in particular in relation to the church and executive and parliament. Remember, the Catholic bishops came out and with a statement, and they picked out a number of things that were of concern of them, and they said their statement had subheadings like culture of lies and false promises, and failing to deliver election promises. So it was loaded. They used strong words, and it was loaded. And so the issue came out, and so the executive was trying to defend themselves. So what happened after their statement? The executive and the people supporting the people in the ruling party uh, came out very strongly, and they spoke. Said, please check your facts. You don't have the right facts. Before you go out there, you don't have the right facts. One even went as far as to say that that's not the right forum to have these discussions. You should have called for a sit-down meeting with the president and to discuss these issues. And so they were not very polite. They went on different. This is now the political class who felt that they were sort of attacked by the statement, and so they went out to the various wherever they were, and they took the microphone and spoke very strongly about it. And at the end of the day, the issue was, that's why it's been called a truth contest. Who was telling the truth? And so some of the issues they were talking about was that about the success of, or they were talking about the economy. And we know that there have been many discussions about if they're saying that the economy we are growing, why aren't we feeling it as Kenyans? And in fact, success explains itself. The results are usually are evident. You don't really have to really argue very much about it. And some of the things they've talked about, can we really attribute them completely to work or activities by government? Can we, for instance, the fuel prices dropping? We know that globally the cost of fuel went down because the demand from China was reduced. So there were other things affecting it. Also telling Kenyans that the inflation rate has gone down. And remember, in the previous shows, we asked, is it a good thing? We listened, we talked about an economist who was being interviewed in one of the media houses, a Professor Iraqi. And he said that when the inflation rate is so low, it means that there is no money to spend. People don't have money to spend. So the question was, is that really a growth? It means that people don't have money to spend, and that and the question was, where is the money? And the money we found was is the government that is borrowing the money, so they have the money. Wananchi cannot compete with government. We can't afford the loans. The interest rates are too high. And the other one was the taxes. The disposable income to purchase the, things has reduced. So even if the cost of, say, unga is reduced, people don't have that money to buy that unga.
Yeah. Let me say,
So
Susan, at this point, because
yeah,
I see you're covering some of the things that have already been stated before. Maybe I should
yeah,
try to play, first of all, to take a few questions or comments in here, and
yeah,
then also, yeah, and then also take a few comments in here, and also at the same time also play something. So
yeah.
one of our viewers, Methulsela Martin, says that lies is part of life. No one is perfect, including you.
That's very true. Yeah,
Methuselah, you're right.
yeah.
Absolutely. Nobody's perfect and nobody's claiming it to be perfect. What we are saying is that is it a good thing to tell a lie? Just because you're not perfect, does it mean it's good? Is it something that we should encourage in our environment, in our society? Should we be growing up in a culture of lies and deceit and deception? That's the question. And it's up to you if you think it's okay, if you think that just because you're not perfect, that's a good enough excuse for us to continue lying everywhere, up and down, then that's okay. If that's the kind of environment you want to live in, then good for you, you know? And then we have Gashias Kaiman, who also says that he's enjoying the show, and I asked him to come on board. By the way, Gashias Kaiman actually has a very good channel, and he's also a member of the Africa 55 group. And he's got very, very interesting ways of analyzing things. So I encourage you to go to his channel and go watch. But over here, Gashias Kaiman, we're trying our best. You know, we're just kind of learning how to present information. So today, for the first time, I'm going to try to present, and I want to ask for your forgiveness in case it all backfires on me. Let's see if we
Okay.
can present this. Let me
Can I just
let me just yeah. Okay, I
respond
wanted
to
to
the
support
question
what you.
before you?
Oh, you want to respond to
Yeah,
the question? Yeah, sure, sure,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. It's true. We're not talking about, like Queen Mo says. It's not about who we all lie. It is about making lies, saying something that is not true, and making it, and people believe it. So it affects the way you receive information. It affects the way you respond to information, and that's where the danger lies. For instance, when you look at an election, and a certain narrative is passed on, and people believe it, and they end up voting for somebody. But at the end of the day, whatever they're telling you to believe is not true. It is not backed by facts. It is not backed by evidence. Remember, I told you the chain, the way it flows. You know, you have to start with fact, then you go to data, then evidence. It has to be supported by evidence. And so statements are made which are so people are believing people's opinions. So for instance, if I told you that, something, and which is obviously not true, let me see, just something that I can tell you something like, yellow is green, you know, and say from now on, yellow is green, or something like that. And in the end, you believe that yellow is green, but in reality, yellow is not green. Yellow is yellow and green is green. So and then you can of course go into getting the evidence and facts. So what they're saying is people rely on a single story, and then they make it like it's supported by evidence or whatever, but it's really an opinion. And there's a difference between opinion and facts. So there's a tendency now in this post-truth era to rely on opinion rather than rely on factual information, evidence-based information, for purposes of making decisions. So we know that, for instance, Brexit and the 2016 elections, um, some analysts say that they were influenced by this post-truth era. When you go back to check some of this information, you can't even understand. I think a lot of the British people afterwards will say they don't even know why they voted the way they voted. I remember listening to some of their comments. So that's what I wanted to say. It's actually some form of manipulation, deliberate, it's a subjective test, and it doesn't really guide you. It doesn't help you to arrive at the truth. So your decision is not based on a correct premise. So that answers the question. Carry on, Mo. Muted. You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry, yeah. So what I'm saying is that you're absolutely right. And I love the way that you have summarized this, and the research you've done on it, Susan, about post-truth is so good. Why are we in a post-truth world? Why? That's the question. But let me present something over here. Let's just see what people are saying out there. Let's see what the media is abuzz with so many interviews and complaints literally from people about, having been hoodwinked, cheated. But there was a time that I wasn't very empathetic to people who said that they were lied to. Because I asked myself, what's wrong with your brain? I mean, can't you think for yourself? And so basically, this is a conference of Catholic bishops. Let's listen to that and see what.
Has hit out at the William Ruto-led administration for perpetrating what they term as a culture of lies. The bishops say Kenyans are suffering due to persistent lies, among them sick Kenyans who cannot access treatment, despite the government insisting that it has rolled out a better healthcare system in SHA. And TV's David Mudhoka reports on why the men of cloth are on a collision course with the government.
After weeks of agony among many untreated patients despite the rollout of the Social Health Authority program, months of concern over the whereabouts of tens of abducted demonstrators, yet the government insists having no hand in any abduction. And years of joblessness among millions of young Kenyans, yet the government is adamant that it has created jobs both locally and internationally. Catholic bishops in the country now say enough is enough. Thursday morning, the men of the cloth, in a scathing attack targeted at the President William Ruto-led government, asked his administration to stop the lies.
When the government fails to fulfill its promises, particularly concerning payments to essential service providers, it harms vulnerable communities. This is the case with NHIF. This culture of lies, unkept promises, and misplaced priorities is unacceptable and needs to be dealt with.
The bishops further put the government on task to give Kenyans answers, especially on the blatantly recurring incidents of reported abductions, disappearances, and killings of Kenyans, and the increased murders of women.
Some who have died or some who have gone missing and cannot be accounted for. We cannot live in a country where human life is treated like the life of a chicken. This is what we are trying to raise. And we shall continue voicing this out, that the lives of people living within the borders of our country are protected as per the Constitution.
Other national issues raised by the bishops include overtaxation of Kenyans, rampant corruption in government, the delayed reconstruction of the IEBC, which has left some areas without representatives for more than 2 years, the unpopular extension of term limits of elected leaders, as well as political wrangles, which they said have made many people lose trust in the government.
It is not the first time that the President William Ruto administration has been accused of lying to Kenyans, but Catholic bishops want it to be the last, calling on the President William Ruto government to be responsible, accountable, and keep the promises that made it elected in the first place. David Mudhoka, NTV, Nairobi.
Success. So you see, you guys, you see how serious this thing is. Yeah. If we get now members of the clergy, let me tell you, I have never seen our dear president so flustered so flustered with an address by a group of people, such as he was with the Catholic bishops. The Catholic bishops, who I know for sure did not receive any envelope from anyone. Yeah. I think what happens is that when you demonstrate integrity, and when then it gives you a voice. That's the best thing about being a truthful person. It gives you a voice. So these people have a voice. And what happened is that I was completely shocked by the way in which our president reacted to this, because I felt that he actually overreacted to it, to this address by the Catholic bishops. And Skyman says here, a lie should only be told when your life is in danger. And not, of course, I don't really think that means when you're campaigning, because I don't really think when you're campaigning, your life is in danger. What do you think, Susan? You want to react to that a bit?
Well, in my view, you should try to avoid telling lies generally, because integrity is an important thing, and that's your reputation at stake. But to err is human, so we're not always truthful. But this is not just about that type of lie. It is about a lie that was actually shaping opinions. It's shaping state level actions. It's shaping institutional behavior, and
Yes.
which can be so damaging. And there's a cost to it. And that's why these bishops have come out, and they're feeling the pain, because they are shepherds and they have sheep. They have their congregants who are direct sufferers of this thing. And in fact, one of the things that came out was that the clergy are very in touch with the population, because they preach to them. They're also in the hospitals. They have faith-based hospitals. They have faith-based schools. They run all these. They have community CSR programs. Poverty alleviation. They have school feeding programs. So they really understand the plight of Kenyans. And so even when the government reacted like that, in fact, it was put in such a way that I had to listen to it several times, and I felt like they were threatened somewhat. I'm not sure whether you also got that sense that there was sort of like a threat.
Yeah, something about
For them.
them to be careful, being asked to be careful so that they don't actually become victims of what they state is happening, of what
Yeah,
what they accuse others. I don't know whether it was meant to be. It was like it sounded like a veiled threat. It
yeah, that's
sounded
what
like
I'm
a veiled
saying.
threat. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it may not have been. I don't know. It might have been our interpretation, but I think it did sound like a little bit of a veiled threat. And then, and the worst thing about it is that the Kenyans themselves decided to take sides. When all the bishops came out together,
yeah,
Kenyans themselves decided to start identifying one, individual bishops, instead of accepting them as a unit. This is the problem. And this is the problem of, the
yeah,
divisions that have been caused by all of these lies. Yeah. These divisions have
yeah,
actually
yeah,
resulted in a society that cannot think straight, properly, objectively. Objectivity, popularity seems to be more important than the truth. Popular opinion is more important than the truth. Yeah. So I think
I,
I would like to play. Mhm. I'd like to play
I
you
think
guys
that's
another
what we're
video.
talking about.
Okay.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
that's what the writers, who the people I research from, were saying, is that the foundation, the underlying beliefs and thoughts, they shape. And for instance, we will listen to certain uh, TV channels because it's aligned with what we believe. So we're not
Mhm.
really very willing to listen to anything that doesn't agree with us, and we'll flip the channel until we
Yeah.
find that. And that's why you're getting them singling out bishops, and not seeing that this is actually an objective behavior rather than a subjective one. Their response is on behalf of their congregants, on behalf of the people of Kenya. In fact, one of the arguments I saw from he's called Professor Gitile Naituli. He was on Spice TV, and he said that first, some things that we should all remember is that the church existed before the state,
Yeah, I
and
heard that.
the church carries the moral authority of the people. And as another commentator said, when you look at the Bible, kings listened to the prophets. So, the way that the state responded also tells you that, it actually confirms we are in a post-truth era,
Yeah.
because they didn't want to be questioned, they don't want to
Mhm.
be challenged, they don't even want to consider there's another side to things. And the Kenyans can tell you, what you're saying, that is not our reality. It's like you're talking about somewhere else, but it's not here,
Yeah.
it's not
So
here.
allow me to play a few more videos, and then we can respond. And I'm also going to play videos from other countries, not just Kenya, okay, guys? So call your friends, please. Remember to thumbs up this video. Call your friends, invite them to the show. Let's talk about this. This is about ethics, morals. This is about our society. This is about the kind of legacy that we're going to leave as Gen X's, as Gen Y's, as Gen Z's, as what do you call them? you know, who are we? We are the group that is
Baby
here on the
boomers.
planet at this time. Are we going to be
Yeah,
known as the group that lied? You know, the liars of this of the centuries. We're going to be known
yeah.
as that. You know, is that the legacy that we want to leave behind? Really, seriously.
Mm.
Yeah. So okay, let's go here. Let's present something else here. Yeah. I want you guys to tell me whether, let me show you something. I want you guys to tell me whether you can tell whether or not, I mean, at what point a lie is being told. Just look at the body language over here. Just watch this. Watch this.
Hi, my name is Tony. I've been doing education technology for 10 years in Kenya. I started it because I'm dyslexic. So when I was in primary school, I really, really struggled. And when I got out, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But my dad gave me a Sony Walkman. Remember those? Sure. And that's how I recorded my books. And I got to graduate and get into uni and get 2 degrees out of that. And what we've done is, for me, because education is so personal, is figure out how to get kids to use a mobile application that is specifically designed to help children. So when a child says, I'm in grade 4 and I can only speak in Swahili, it provides that for them. But this is not enough. We knew that children on their own could be complicated. So we built something for teachers that also integrates what the kids do.
That's great.
And now the teachers can be able to see, this is where you're doing well, this is where you're struggling. And the question I had is, how is this sustainable? Because it's expensive.
It's not like we have to build out the mobile network or provide the phones again. So the hardware infrastructure,
Sorted.
we're basically reusing what the last 10 years is putting in place. The back-end costs are, say the cost per query is a few cents. That's prohibitive. So we have to get it down to like 1/10 of a cent or 100th of a cent. The software's getting better. The hardware's getting better.
Yeah.
So I think we're on a roadmap where the back end thing, even for low cost subscriptions, won't be limiting.
Do you think Africa is ready for AI right now?
I'm impressed at the energy already going into it, and we want to facilitate that. In some cases, Africa can be very much on the forefront.
Okay. Okay, guys. Now, why did I play that video? I played that video because I wanted to ask you, at what point did you notice anything different? And we don't have to answer it right now. Think about it, put it in your head. If you have a comment in there, I won't tell you the answer. If you have a comment, guys, if you're in the comment section, just, tell me. You saw the video of who? Bill Gates and a Kenyan entrepreneur who has developed an app for people who are dyslexic. And the question that he asked is, Africa ready for AI? Okay. There's something that you should have noticed from the response. And for me, as a trained evaluator, I know, I can see, when people are speaking the truth from their opinion and when they're actually not. So if you want me to play it again, tell me to play it again for you, I will. Other than that, I'll play something else now so that Susan, I don't want you to give the answer to these guys. Let them figure it out. But I'll tell you the answer to that one. But I also want to play you something else here. Okay, guys? Hold a sec. Today's the day for watching movies. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah.
Vuna.
One of the things that I want to sort of to confirm here, because we've been on this show, I think, for a year, just talking about the same things. I have heard him say that now the price of unga, I will focus on that unga. That's my job. He has said one or 2 months. You know, Trevor, if you remember, at the very beginning, we were told immediately the Bible is put down, is going to address this question of price of unga. Then there was a time when the free fertilizer came, we were told within 3 or 4 months, the harvest will be ready, it will be done. Then Musalia pushed it to 6 months, Gachagua pushed it to a year. Osoro now today is telling us 1 to 2 months. I don't know who in this administration can give a concrete time frame within which Kenyans can expect the price of unga to go even below what we were buying unga by the time we went into the election, which was 100 shillings. And not for any just some shady brand of unga, no. Because I have said that food security has a component of preference. That you cannot tell me that now there is a packet of unga at 120, but it is a brand that I have never heard of and I do not recognize, I don't know where it comes from. My household is used to cooking ugali using a certain brand of unga. That brand of unga used to be 100 shillings. It went to 250. If you are telling me because of your policies, it has gone back to 100, I should go to the shelf and find that same brand of unga retailing at 100 shillings. But they are being clever. When the president speaks, he says, first he gives a range. And so that we are not able to pin him down. He says between 150 and 170. Then he gives another rider, depending on the brand you buy. He thinks we are fools. He thinks we cannot see through the lies that he's telling us. So Osoro, as a whip in the National Assembly, can you tell the nation here today, is it 1 month? Is it 2 months? Can we hold you down to a time when we will go to the supermarkets in this country and find unga retailing at 90 shillings or 70 shillings like you promised?
You know,
is there a time frame?
Let me tell you, it is wrong for Sifuna and Dr. Ekuru to imagine that they know, it's facts within their knowledge, that it is not the government that comes out to declare that, you know, today the price will be 70. What the government...
No, he did it.
No, it is not the government.
Ruto said it himself.
We live in a free market. The free market, the market is controlled. The other parameters that control market is the element of the supply, you know, and the need and everything that comes with it. When the supply is ample, for example, like we said, when after the harvest, we'll get to know. You know, there will be a surplus of maize across. That automatically will reduce the price of unga. It's not really the government that... give me one single government, including the developed countries, where a government comes and says, you know, today or tomorrow, the price of this particular commodity, this unga,
let me just
100 shillings.
It's
not practical.
Okay. Let me finish.
Should be honest enough and know that these things is a supply and demand. Okay. So what we are trying to push is to push that the demand, you know, for the goods becomes a little bit competitive in terms of based on the supply, because there will be a bumper harvest across the country. Maize will be all over. It will be easily accessible. Now people will reduce their prices, and eventually the price of unga will go down. So you're looking for an equilibrium, yes?
Yeah. Now this is the point that I was making, that we need honesty in our politics. I personally believe that people can vote for you even if you tell them the truth. You know, you don't have to lie to the public to get into office. As I said, that is what we call obtaining by false pretenses. That language that he is employing right now, this kizungu mingi that he's talking about, that is the language I want to hear William Ruto on top of cars during campaigns. He should be saying, we will determine the price of maize based on the market equilibrium of supply and demand. He's the one who said it with his own mouth that immediately he puts down the Bible, the price of maize flour will be 70 shillings.
But
nobody
he
forced
said
him to say that.
No, he said
He is
that.
the one, just let me finish, he's the one who said that the government will be of Mamamboga and what was Boda Boda. He never mentioned the IMF. He should stand in the markets the way that he used to campaign and say, by the way, this government is going to be between me and the IMF. You people are not going to be shareholders in this particular government. Why can't you tell people the truth? Let people employ you as the president of the republic based on actual truth, things that you said with your own mouth.
That is not
so
what
this
under the
kizungu
bridge.
that you're coming here, don't say it's water under the bridge. And Kenyans are under the bridge. We are drowning in that water under the bridge, Osoro. Get us out of the bridge.
Sorry, that was a little bit long, guys, but I wanted you guys to get the gist about how important this discussion is in Kenya today. Yeah, that is Edward Sifuna. He is he's a senator, Susan.
Yeah.
He's a senator.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a senator in the Senate, and I believe Osoro is the chief whip. Yeah, and they're arguing. They're arguing about the promises of the government to the people. They promised the government, the people, when Ruto was campaigning, part of his manifesto was that he was going to reduce the price of ugali, what do you call it? Pap, whatever you want to call it, either pap, ugali, whatever. Maize meal, exactly, yeah. He was going to reduce the price of maize meal, which is the main source of energy for most poor Kenyans, to a certain amount. And it did not happen. Instead, what actually happened is that as soon as he came to power, he actually removed the subsidies on petrol and diesel, which increased the price actually of food commodities, including ugali and maize meal. And that's number one. The second thing that happened, which was also seen to be deceptive, is that we received free fertilizer as a donation from I believe it was Russia. Yeah. And because you see, we were affected by the Russia-Ukraine war, we could not get access to to fertilizer, to oils, and to things, especially animal feeds and things like that. So and to maize meal. So what Putin decided to do for Kenya is, and for many African countries, basically was to give actually free fertilizer, totally free fertilizer. But when it came, it didn't come. It was not being given free. It was given as if it was subsidized, as if the government had actually purchased it. So instead of charging 6,000 something for the fertilizer, they were charging 2,500 per bag of fertilizer. That's what's happening now. So you see now, all of these, what happened again on top of that, for those of you who are not Kenyan who are on here, yeah, and what happened is that the actual fertilizer that was delivered to farmers, then on top of that, it was found to be what do we say? It was found to have stones and other things in it. So in other words, basically what happened is that there was just so much deception. Kenyans were so upset. Farmers actually put that fertilizer on their plants, and then they did not receive a harvest. In fact, if anything, they contaminated their soils with things that they don't know about, literally like stones. So instead of fertilizer, they receive stones. Yeah. And that's real stones, which are not fertilizer, not even compacted fertilizer. We talk about stones. So the thing is that there's been a big problem in our country in terms of food, access to food, and the cost of transport. Everything, then goes up. Once you increase the price of fuel and all that, the food prices also go up. So basically, this is when now Susan is talking about the fact that when Bashir says now, these lies can actually cause loss of life. These farmers are depending on the food and the income from farming at certain times in the year. If they don't get it and they don't have access to money, and the government is not subsidizing or finding a way to compensate them, then it means that they could lose their livelihood. They could also lose their reputation. They could lose their customers. They could lose the market. And in the end, they would become destitute. And this has actually happened. I bought the paper today, and the paper states that actually Kenyans are getting poorer and poorer. Yeah. And so when they talk about the inflation coming down, it doesn't make sense when inflation is coming down and the people of Kenya are getting poorer. So that's my point. When I listen to these arguments on TV, It's like the culture of lies is what we are actually talking about here. And we don't usually see them actually interview just the regular one, like Susan and myself and you guys there who are in the comments. They don't interview us. They don't call us for interviews. They only call politicians. They don't want to hear from public participation. We're here. And they don't even call a lot of women. Women are affected because women are the ones who are doing the budgeting. Women are the ones who are doing the farming. So we are the ones who are affected most by the lies because we're not able to create, we're not able to put food on the table, and we're not able to provide for our families adequately. And our children are growing hungry. So anyway, yeah, Susan, what do you think about that? No, it's just so annoying, basically.
Yeah. What I picked up from that particular discussion was like Edwin Sifuna was saying was that was talking about the collective intelligence of our public, of the Kenyan public. It is higher. And that's why he was saying Kenyans are not, they can read between the lines, and it's higher than the government. So we are very aware. And one of the things that I've heard argued is that we benefited from the free education during the Third Republic. That's the Kibaki presidency. Because it was free education. So we have a lot of people benefited from that. In fact, even the Gen Z protests, they say these children, these young people benefited from that. So you can't just tell them anything and they believe you. So people know what they want and they are speaking up, and they're not afraid to speak up. The other issue that, that was raised in that was that, when we are being told our economy is growing, we need to interrogate. We need to ask those questions. Like I said about, one way to challenge this issue of truth is to find out, to do some further research to find whether it is supported by evidence, and and you can find information that will make you question. The first one, of course, is that we don't feel that we are growing as a nation. We know shops have closed. We know people are, like you said, people are getting poorer. The middle class is disappearing, and the middle class are the ones who are teachers and all that. That group of people, and they're very essential. And the reason why that is happening is that our macroeconomic production is an issue. We are not exporting enough. It's about revenue. It's about revenue. If the government has the money, the people who can trade with it don't have access to it, and that's why the question of who has the money was very important, because we cannot be competing with the government for loans.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
and we can't pay for them. And then, so the other point that is that the government has not created hope. Kenyans don't have hope so that they will, investment will be encouraged. So what is happening for those few people who have money? They're just hoarding it. They don't want to spend it because they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop, literally. So that is the type of context we are operating under. When you talk about maize flour, the economy should not be based on the price of ugali. You can't say that an economy is growing because of the price of ugali. And that is not really an indicator that will tell you. What will tell you that the economy is growing is that people have money to spend. They have money to spend. They have money to go to the shop and buy, so the money is in circulation. Right now, even if you drop the prices, people can't buy. So and that's the reality of the situation, and that's the issue that was being raised there by by Stifuna, and of course it's good to listen to what the government has to say. I was listening to Mutahi. He's a political analyst, and he said they came out and they said that the Catholic bishops' response statement, and even the response of the they were calling them the Kikuyu pastors. But
Just imagine.
personally, I saw people from all over Kenya. I mean, from different parts of Kenya. So anyway, they said that they should not interfere. They should not be making statements like that. There are people who can make statements, and there are no consequences to their statements. On top of that,
Let
they
me
were
let me
saying
add
that
to that, Susan. Remember what they said? Gladys Sholay, what did she say? She said that they should be selling hope. They should not be
yeah,
selling hopelessness. So you
yeah,
see, for her, everything is a transactional relationship. Even the
yes,
bishops, even the Catholic clergy are supposed to be selling hope. Hope is a commodity for sale. Okay. And it just goes to
mm-hmm,
show you the culture that the government has. Their
yeah,
culture is all about selling something. You should be
yeah,
selling hope. What are you talking about? You know?
yeah,
Because actually, if I remember my Christian upbringing or teachings, in fact, a lot of it was admonition. We were no that religion, the religion Christianity actually admonishes people who do wrong. The Ten
yeah,
Commandments, for example: thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not do this. Is that selling hope? I don't think so. I don't think so.
yeah,
It's putting barriers. It's putting, it's actually, setting boundaries, and that's the thing. Deception is a boundary that we should not cross. We should not be known to be this country that is full of deceit and deceptive people. Because you know what? It goes beyond the leadership to you and I.
yeah,
Do you
yeah,
know that if we are led, like for example, one of the reasons why many people from China have received the level of respect in the world is not because of anything else, or even the Japanese, for example, is because
yeah,
they're known to be honest. They're known to be honest people. Yeah. And so sometimes you actually, it's a currency, it's wealth. Honesty is a type of wealth.
yes,
We have been
yeah,
lied to. For example, we have been
yeah,
lied to about what is wealth, what is
yeah,
riches. Some of the riches is actually our behavior, our culture. Our culture is wealth. If we come for a
yeah,
culture that is full of deception and lies, it means that we'll
yeah,
miss opportunities. We will miss
yeah,
opportunities to get loans, even individually. Yeah,
yeah,
we will miss opportunities to get visas to travel because we will be seen as people who come from the lying country, the corrupt people. You guys have seen the kind of reputation that Nigerians have had to suffer, and that
mm,
honest Nigerians have had to suffer because of the dishonest
yeah,
Nigerians. So it's the same thing
mm,
that's happening in Kenya, that if we adopt this culture of lies, it has a trickle down effect on the rest of
yeah,
us, and we will be punished for it, and our children will be punished for it. We will be reaping
yeah,
the sour grapes of those people who are busy lying and deceiving. We come
that's
from a
true.
culture where we will be known as a culture where we actually don't have real certificates, where people where we are, it's a fraudulent country where all our certificates are fake, and and most of us are not. Most of
Very
us
sad.
worked hard for our certificates. Most of us
Yeah,
actually earned those degrees. But it won't make a difference as long as you come from a country that is perpetually known as one that is not honest, a dishonest country. So we will
yeah,
always be expected to even pay. We will end up paying more for visas, more for everything. Our
yeah,
relationships, even when it comes to finding work, even being employability, the employability of Kenyans is going to come down
yeah,
because we will be known to be those people who lie and who also choose liars to lead us. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like now, for
I was listening.
example, yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's really bad. But anyway, I should allow. There are some people who want to come on board. I'm going to add to
yeah,
the stage Zapayoro and Victor. Yeah,
yeah. Let them
Karibuni.
come on board. Yeah,
Yeah, let them come on board. Let them also speak now. Zapayoro, do you have something to say? Karibu. And welcome, Victor. We will just ask you guys to shut off your mics
Thank
as
you.
long as you're not in the studio, okay? Karibuni, welcome. Zapayoro, you don't want to say anything.
Before,
Open up your mic. Okay, let's let
no.
Victor then speak. Yes.
Okay.
Let's let
Okay.
Victor
I
speak.
just
Yeah. Oh, just a minute. Did you want to say something, Susan?
I
As
just
long as
wanted
keep
to
it
say
really short, so
something.
we let these people speak. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
in connection with what you were talking about,
Oh,
and
I
you
see.
had
Okay.
asked what has caused this? What's the trigger? And what has happened? This post-truth era is a reflection of a basic lack of trust in authority or decline of trust in institutions across the board. And it is an erosion of confidence in public institutions, which is what you can see. Those are some of the effects of the post-truth era. We don't believe what the institutions are telling us. We don't believe anything they're saying. So information you can get it very easily now. You just need to go into the internet. Information is moving really fast, and actually, interestingly, in contrast to the let me put it in their word, alternative facts that they chose, or the misspeaking, or the fake news, is that there's a lot of transparency. You can access information. So we're living in a very interesting time.
Okay. Who? If you put your finger up, I think I'll let Victor speak. Victor, hello. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm doing great. I hope you guys can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you very well, Victor. Could you introduce yourself a little bit? Just let us know who you are. And then what your position is on this, yeah?
Yeah. Okay. My name is Victor Odhiambo. Currently at Nairobi. I stay in Nairobi, Karen. Today, I wanted to learn from you guys a lot. That's what I'll be doing. But maybe probably next on the next topic, if you guys allow me, and I'll be conversant and I'll be able to talk that much.
That's totally fine, Victor. That's all right. Karibu Sana, just be on the stage. You can be in the background and listen and learn. And when you feel comfortable, you can just, come in and speak, or even put in a comment in there and we'll be reading it. Okay? Karibu Sana. All right. So Victor is a Kenyan. So let's listen to Zapayo. Zapayo, you have something to say? And can you introduce yourself for the sake of Victor so he knows who you are?
Oh, great. Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you guys now. Oh, great. Yeah. Well, my name is Zapayoro. I'm a linguist and political analyst. I originally come from West Africa, a country called Ivory Coast. I don't know, maybe you've heard of Ivory Coast before. Yeah. Well, I live in Wales, and I am busy here fighting for the Welsh language and also the politics for independence of the Welsh of Wales as a nation. Yeah. So I was an activist. I mean, I've been an activist, and I am still somehow. But before being a Welsh person, I'm an African. Yeah. So that's it. Hello, yeah, nice to meet you, Victor. Yeah.
Zapayor, do you have any? Yeah, great that you've introduced yourself. Do you have anything to say about post-truth politics? What is post-truth politics? Do you have any idea what it is? And what does it mean to you? What are these lies that are, why are they're creating anxiety, and citizens are becoming mistrusting of the government and their leadership? Do you have any just general opinions, on that?
Yeah, I think the word post-truth, yeah, is I mean it designates, it refers to a reality, yeah, and the question now is, has it existed? Has it been? I mean, have we been in the post-truth? I mean, have we been living in lies even before before 2016? Because the word was created because of Donald Trump. I remember that because of Donald Trump, and it is the mainstream Western media who created the word, and it was adopted by the dictionary to really depict and describe what Donald Trump was doing. You know, because Donald Trump has been depicted as somebody who speaks to emotions and beliefs instead of speaking instead of describing reality as it is, you know. So that's the idea behind the word. Is when politicians speak to emotions, they don't speak facts, you know, hard facts. They speak to emotions and beliefs, you know. And I think it might be true with Donald Trump, but it is definitely true with the mainstream, I mean, the establishment and the mainstream media in the Western world. Definitely, they speak to emotions, they speak to beliefs, beliefs that they fabricate themselves. They can fabricate beliefs. You know, they have reached this very highly sophisticated, you know, art of manufacturing consent. I think that term, manufacturing consent, sorry, was used by Noam Chomsky, who is a great linguist. You know, I don't know if you've heard about Noam Chomsky. He just lost the ability to speak, so we were not going to hear him, anymore. But he's been criticizing the policy, the American government and the foreign policies for a long time. And he said he came up with that term before post-truth era. I mean, politics. He spoke of manufacturing consent. Why? Because the first time, I mean, the mainstream Western powers, sorry, have been successful in Second World War with Hollywood. Like I mentioned last time, if you would have asked a Frenchman during in the aftermath of World War II. I mean, like in 1946, 1949, they would tell you that the Russians have won the war, but in the 80s, all French people, the majority of French people were saying that it was the USA. So that was the job of Hollywood, you know. So they had been very successful. But unfortunately, the Vietnam War came to completely deconstruct, you know, what they were building as lies, you know, justification, you know, for the war. So they realized that they needed to up the game, and they really did that. They really upped the game during the Iraq War, but it still didn't work. Many people took to the streets, so against the war. So then after the Iraq War, they even created, you know, more sophisticated, you know, ways of manufacturing consent, and that's what Noam Chomsky was pointing out. You know, so then later on, the same mainstream media accused Donald Trump of manufacturing consent, of using fake news to speak to emotions. Yeah, so that's it. But we are in that era, definitely, and we are going to see what is going to happen, because it has reached a level where they were censoring every alternative, you know, opinion, because they knew that what they were saying was not coming to pass. People did not buy into what they were saying, you know. So they decided to silence, you know, alternative opinions until the mainstream media, like I said last time, they lost that war. I mean, they lost the elections, because the elections, it was it was like a war against Donald Trump, and they lost that war. So now they cannot censor anybody anymore. We're going to see what is going to happen. So yeah, sorry to have mentioned so many different things, but the main bottom line, the idea behind post-truth era is that politicians speak to emotions and they speak to beliefs rather than hard facts. And this was attributed to it is Donald Trump who was labeled, as being a post-truth politician. Yeah.
Really? Wow. Okay, that's the advantage of being a linguist. You have an idea where the words are manufactured from or where they start,
Yeah.
Can I give you an example of, can I show you a video with an example of this manufactured consent?
Yeah.
Let's just see this one, eh? Okay. Let's see. Here.
It's the Easter weekend, April 2020, and this Sheffield care home is crippled by COVID.
Hiya, John. How are you feeling?
Our cameras documented what happened here. Staff didn't have the proper protective equipment or PPE, and residents were dying of COVID.
I want to get out.
Of this place, you mean?
Yeah, I want to get out of here.
Guidance from Public Health England to ministers failed to recognise the risk posed to elderly residents by non-symptomatic spread of the virus. A Sky News investigation at the time revealed that supplies of PPE were being diverted to the NHS away from care homes. And worse, elderly patients were being discharged into homes without a COVID test. We now know that the policy guidance documents released in March and April were unlawful and failed to protect elderly residents. It's something we asked the Health Secretary about at the time.
You knew and your department knew that this was a high-risk area. You've issued guidance to care homes repeatedly over the last few months. I wonder if you will take this opportunity to apologise to those families of loved ones who died in care homes because the government didn't properly protect them.
That's the thing is, Nick. I think that's unreasonable as a question, actually.
But now the High Court has ruled that the government broke the law. Care home owner Nicola Richards lost 28 residents to COVID.
The government told us all the way through the pandemic they put a protective ring around us. That's just lies ultimately. It never happened. I think what they've done, the lies, is absolutely unforgivable. They should apologise to every single family member who's lost loved ones. They should hang their head in shame, basically.
A spokesperson for Matt Hancock said, "This court case comprehensively clears ministers of any wrongdoing and finds Mr Hancock acted responsibly on all counts." The court also found that Public Health England failed to tell ministers what they knew about asymptomatic transmission. Mr Hancock has frequently stated how he wished this had been brought to his attention earlier.
John? Hello, darling.
Lindsay Allison's father-in-law, John, died from COVID in a care home after being discharged from hospital without a test.
Absolutely disgusted. I don't know why it's taken 2 years for somebody to decide that the government have broken the law when I've been saying this from the start. We've known from the start they sent the elderly into care homes without testing them first, allowing my father-in-law and many others like him to pass away.
The lasting and painful legacy for many families is that they will never know if the death of their loved one in a care home could have been prevented. Nick Martin, Sky News, Sheffield.
Okay. So that particular video, is about the discharging from hospital of patients, elderly patients who were not showing symptoms of COVID, but that's why they call them asymptomatic. So they were not showing symptoms of COVID, and they were discharged from the hospitals because they were creating space for new patients, right? So those patients were taken to care homes. These are care homes with healthy patients. So these patients who are coming from the hospitals, elderly patients, were taken into homes where there were healthy parents of you and I staying. So they mixed in there and they were not given a test. And yet, the Public Health England knew in advance that this was a risk, right? But they did not adequately warn, they did not adequately warn the people in, the government anyway. So the government ended up breaking the law, okay, through non-disclosure of information that they had to care homes, okay? Because care homes thought that those patients were safe. So by not disclosing what they knew, 2 years later, they were accused of, it was confirmed that they broke the law. But that is 28 residents later who lost their lives, after losing 28. So this is the risk. And this is the problem of what they call deception, whether, I don't know what you call this, lying by what? You know what I mean? It's a veiled lie, that the people don't come out with the truth. It's kind of like being economical with the truth. There's a word like that, isn't it? Being economical with the truth, where you don't give all the information. Why? Because there's nowhere to take these patients. They have to go into care homes. They can't go to people's houses. They have to put them in care homes. So they'll take the risk of putting these elderly patients, okay, who had been released from hospital into care homes with patients who were not, COVID affected. And then they infected them because they had not been given a test. So this is an example to show us that it's not just Kenya, and we're not just highlighting or singling out one person. We are saying that this is actually a global concern. Zabayoro talked about Donald Trump, isn't it? Donald Trump, and apparently he's the one who has been given, he was given this title of post what? Of post-truth. 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 Exactly.
Yeah,
This one here in the UK would be what I would call manufactured consent, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? So you see, this is in the UK. So we have the UK, we have the US, we have Kenya. That means that we have a global problem. So we're not saying that it's restricted to any one area of the world. But just because it is a global problem doesn't mean that we should gloss over it and decide that it's not important enough to address, that we must actually put a stop to it. And that's the reason why, we must support anybody who comes, whether it's a Catholic bishops, whether it's you and I, whoever comes and says no, whether it's the law courts, whether it's the courts of law, whoever it is that stops these lies and this deception, we need to go back to truth, to a pro-truth world. We really need the truth, because the truth could have saved so many lives. Okay, let me be quiet now and let you guys speak. Yeah,
you're speaking a bit like Vladimir Putin when he used the words the empire of lies. I don't know, talking about the West, he said the empire of lies. I don't know if you've heard that term. Yeah, that's what he said, but that's his opinion. But anyway, I think there's been a lot of lies on either side, be it on the Eastern Bloc or the Western Bloc. Well, you have liars, everywhere. It's a global, like you say, it's a global issue. It has become so bad that nowadays we even revisiting the concept of truth, because before it was very simple, because we used to have like people we trusted. I mean, generally humanity, there used to be people like religious people, or maybe a witness here you can find. The same way we trust children nowadays is easy with children, to find the truth, the same way it used to be easy for people as well, because maybe the newspaper, when it comes out on the newspaper, is the truth. When you have an expert, it's enough, it's the truth. If you're talking about COVID, you have a doctor, it's enough, it will tell the truth. But now, this is over now. A doctor can be bought, an expert can be bought. So we have problems with the sources, of information nowadays. A judge can be bought. A religious leader can be bought. A clergyman can be bought. It can be lying. Now everybody knows it. So, well, now how to come back to a truthful word is going to be difficult, because we are revisiting the truth itself. And there are different approaches, different theories about the truth, about philosophical theories about the truth. But I'd like to point out two of them. There's one called the correspondence theory, whereby you have what you are saying, what you claim, must correspond to an available reality, a reality that is accepted by consensus, So now, is it really true? But first, it is accepted and available. Yeah, so that's the correspondence theory. There's also another, the other one is the, what you call the coherence theory, that says that a claim should be acceptable just because it is coherent with a series of statements. You see, for example, if in the West here, when you say, okay, everybody accepts that Vladimir Putin is the enemy, or Donald Trump is the devil. So now this from there, from there, you say, okay, he did this, he did that. Okay, let me take a different example. You just state, there are many statements, things that have been said, but I'm not going to question everything that is said in the West here. But anyway, series of statements that have been, just put out there, and as long as it's coherent, then it's the truth. It's acceptable. See, yeah. So these are two theories. There's also approaches.
What makes it coherent, though? What makes it coherent?
Because it has to cohere with the previous statement.
Oh,
see,
okay.
That's why it's difficult to give an example nowadays.
Okay. Yeah, let's look for these examples the next time around. This topic is big.
We have one, for example, now, because everybody has admitted it now. Okay, Saddam Hussein was accused of having mass destruction weapons, mass destruction. So before accusing Saddam Hussein of having mass destruction weapons, there are previous statements that presented Saddam Hussein as a tyrant, as a dictator, as a criminal. You see, so this has already paved the way, to the next, the upcoming statements. So you can state things after you have already made the first statement acceptable to everybody. So the same thing for Gaddafi. Gaddafi is a criminal. He's a dictator. Even Africans have accepted it. So when now you say, okay, we are going to, there's a rebellion in Benghazi and Sirte. There was a rebellion there. You state that these are actually Libyans who are just uprising against the dictator. You are not saying to the people that these are terrorists who have gathered there and who are fighting a proxy war. You see, so it's another statement. These are the people who want freedom. It's another statement which is coherent to the previous statement that Gaddafi is a dictator, is a criminal. So now we are going to intervene to save life, because Gaddafi is going to kill people in Syria. So it is coherent again. You see, so as long as it's coherent, it's the truth.
So you're building a story literally from a lie.
Yeah, literally, yeah, from a lie.
Literally, yeah, from an unconfirmed truth or an unconfirmed statement.
Yeah, so that's an example, and just an example.
Yeah, just an example.
And then it gets repeated and repeated and repeated.
Exactly.
And then it gets repeated and repeated and repeated. Yeah, until it takes on the force of truth. Yeah,
exactly.
But it's not the truth.
It's not the truth. It's not the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's another beyond. Besides those theories, you have also what you call approaches, and there are two approaches. There's a utilitarianistic approach of the truth. There are things that you state or you claim to trigger a reaction. To make people do something. It is not that it is true at all. It is not about. It has nothing to do with reality or facts, but you need to say that to make people, do something to trigger a reaction from the people. I don't want to mention religions here. Of course, religions have been used, to go to war. Say, okay, even in my country in Ivory Coast, you see, people said, okay, the government is killing Northerners, Muslim people. So this causes many Muslim people to join together, to get together and fight the regime. So it is whether it's true or false, that's not the point. You're just saying it because you need to remove the regime, And then there's also a moralist approach where you have to be sincere, say the truth. But why do I put those things? Why do I draw a parallel between them? Because why do I contrast them? I contrast them. It's not that I want to side with the moralist approach or not. It's just because I just want to present it as something that is used in politics. Sometimes the end goal can be good, but you can still use lies, to arrive at your end goal. Sometimes the end goal can be bad, and you can even use the truth, to achieve your goals. It's just a tool, Yeah, just narrative is just a tool politicians use, Yeah, it's a bit. I hope it's a bit. It's a bit clear. It sounds a bit complex, but
it sounds like a PhD in lies.
Well,
but that's what we're living with now.
Really, we are.
Yeah. I wanted us to look at some examples from Kenya when we're talking about post-truth era. Okay, so we had the truth contest between the church and the political class. And then we have the issue of exam cheats. And then the permanent secretary of education and even the cabinet secretary came out and said, oh, we have been able, there's been no cheating. We have been able to, there's only attempted cheating that has occurred in the exams, and we've been able to arrest the situation before it's rolled out. And of course, as Kenyans, when we had that, I'm sure we all were like, all right, you expect us to believe that, and they're repeating it with confidence,
Yeah.
And and so that we are supposed to believe that because it's coming from the government that there's been no cheating in the exams. But we know that they have been reporting in the news. They've been reporting in the news how over 70 people arrested, including parents who are part of the whole thing, and that's one example. Yeah, and then and then the other one is the lecturers' strike. They negotiated what they called a collective bargaining agreement, and they negotiated for a certain amount of money, and 9.7 billion when they calculated. And then now the negotiating partner called IPPCU, which means Interpublic University Council Consultative Forum. They were the ones negotiating on the salaries, on the issues that were disturbing the lecturers. They came up with a different figure. They came up with 4.3 billion, which is less than 9.7 billion. So the lecturers are still out, and the National Assembly Committee on Education tried to mediate the issue. So they asked the IPPCU to produce proof that they had actually renegotiated this figure down to 4.3 billion, and they couldn't produce it. So the lecturers are on the street. They're protesting, and they're saying, how we negotiate one thing, and these people are coming and saying we agreed on something else. So they said, we just want that. Well, that's not the truth. That's not the truth. But what they are telling the Wananchi is that, the lecturers are protesting. We have tried to meet their demands. We've made this offer. But there's no paper or proof that this 4.3 billion that they are saying they're willing to pay was negotiated. So they were sent away from the National Assembly Education Committee. They were told, you have to come back with better proof, because we can't accept this. You can't just tell us 4.3 billion and you have not produced any document that this is what you negotiate. So the lecturers are saying, no, our figure is 9.7 billion. We do this figure that you're saying this is part payment, is not the whole amount. The other thing we need to pay attention to is the way that the government came back on the statement that the bishops made. This came up on the NHIF issue, the health insurance issue. They said they're not telling the truth. We have paid them some money. So this is a good example, right? We have paid some money. Okay, so they're not telling the truth that we have not paid. So you see a true situation here. One side is saying they have not paid. The other one is saying we have paid. It's true the government has paid some money, but it has not cleared. It has not. There's still a balance remaining, and that is the truth, that there's a balance remaining. So from the and the other thing is, we're not sure whether that money that was paid, any of it went to the faith-based organizations, or it went to other, like the government institutions or private institutions. So they've just given a figure and said we have paid this, but there's no proof in their statement that the beneficiaries at all, or that the faith-based organizations benefited from that payment. So again, this is to manipulate us as Kenyans. Say, all these people are telling lies. All these people are telling lies. So it's really serious. So we see all these people coming out. So we had the issue of the bishops. The government tried to turn the thing over on them and tell the Kenyans, no, these people are not speaking factual information. So putting a big question mark on the truthfulness of the clergy, And then the second one is putting question marks on us as Kenyans, that there's been no exam cheating, and then again putting question marks on the lecturers, just saying, but where did this figure come from? Why are you saying that that we've accepted this 4.3 billion? Where did it come from? So it's a reality, and Kenyans, and generally, like Maureen and both of you have been saying, it's a global problem. It's a global problem. We're being manipulated, and that's why to fight it, we need to encourage people not to retweet. When you get information, fact check. Not just fact check. Look for, if it's something that's dependent on a single story, it's not good enough for you to retweet.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you send it out with the provider, I found this one story, because that's not evidence. Yeah, because a news story is not news. And it's not news. And like you said, in the politics, we know, even when we think about our politicians here, how did they win the election? What stories did they tell people? And people were convinced that they were being told the truth. And then you find somebody winning the election, and when you think about it, afterwards, how did we even believe that? That was not true. So that, and Mutahigumi says that that politicians, it's a criminal enterprise. So as Kenyan, or generally, people should know that the politicians are in it for their personal gain. So we should not expect anything better from them. That is a criminal enterprise, and they're going there to steal money, and all this is, we shouldn't expect anything better from them. So but still, there's still that part of us, I think, as human beings, that we want to be represented. We believe we're being represented by people who are sincere in looking out, for our interests. Yeah. So I just hope to share that in Kenya, it's a reality. We are being gaslighted, literally, by the state, by
Zapaya. It's crazy. That is so true.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before. Not today, but during another session, that we have adopted a culture regarding the public discourse. Public, what we say in public. In our ancestral Africa, person's words, will define the person, and we give an idea what kind of values they have. Your word, what you're saying, is not what you are, what is written, and that what is signed, that has been signed by you. No, it is what comes out of your mouth. But we have abandoned that culture. I don't know. probably after colonization and different invasions. But we have adopted another approach where the truth is just because it is in a book, just because it's in a newspaper, or just because it's written on a document that has been signed. No. We want to listen. Our ancestors would like to listen to somebody and keep in mind what has come out of their mouth, Yeah, so we don't joke with that. But nowadays, you just lie. The best liar wins. Like I said, the best liar wins, And we have accepted it like that. Now we don't even know where that system is taking us to. Now, during the COVID crisis, we saw that experts were coming to TV to lie. Experts in a situation of conflict of interest were lying. We saw, I don't know, people lying, politicians lying everywhere in Africa. It's so normal for politicians to lie. So because we are not involved in the politics ourselves, we're not checking things, we are not involved, like going back to the city, the Greek city where democracy was created. People were involved. People were going to the assembly to vote the laws, to pass the laws and devise the laws. And the people who were elected were just elected to implement, what had been decided by the people. But nowadays, but now that's another talk again. Maybe we need to come up with a different system. But if we don't stop that problem of lies, lying in public, I think we're missing out on. We're not getting anywhere. Even if we want to fight corruption goes together with lies. The lack of truth. Corruption goes together. Getting fake news or unreliable public discourse. They go together. Yeah.
Very interesting. I think, let me just play you one final one, but I wanted you guys to tell me whether you could tell when somebody was lying in that video. Yeah. I don't know if I should play it. Let me just play one more here, and then I'll go back and play the other one so that for those of you guys, who have not watched it, but just watch this one now. This is separate.
William Ruto transitioning from a flying president to a lying president, or is he simply both? A flying president who lies? This is a question that Kenyans themselves sought to find an answer to in the past few days. And look at what they discovered in our weekly satire as compiled by KTN's David Mothoka.
There is a famous Kiswahili methali that goes, mjinga akirevuka, mwerevu yuko mashakani, and President William Ruto seems to know it all too well.
Na ndio mimi nimekuja hapa kuambia hivi, maneno ya kudanganywa wajinga waliisha Kenya, na wajinga hakuna Tana River tena.
From Tana River, we climb the slopes of Mount Kenya.
Kuna stadium hapa imetusumbua sana. Hiyo stadium imejengwa karibu Yesu anafika kama bado haijakamilika. Sindio?
The stadium in question is Ruringu Stadium that lies at the heart of Nyeri County, and this was President Ruto earlier this year.
Kabla ya mwisho wa mwaka huu, hii stadium tutamaliza. Nimeleta contractor mpya. Contractor amefika na nimempatia warning. Sindio? Ya kwamba mpaka hiyo stadium ikuwe complete. In a couple of months.
It was not the first time that the president was shifting goalposts. This was Willie in 2017.
In Nyeri, the president gave the title. There was a challenge of title. Now we have a title, and now the program has been rolled out.
Over 72 months later, it now appears more likely that Jesus will come a second time before the stadium can host a single match.
Nani anajua shida zetu? Ni Aslan. Nani anajua shida za vijana? Ni Ruto.
There is also the historic Kamarinyi Stadium in Elgeyo Marakwet County.
In 6 months' time, the stadium in Kamarinyi in West Pokot, which is historic, will be complete.
More than 7 years since this statement, this is the state of Kamarinyi as shown by civic educator Morara Kebaso.
In 6 months' time, the stadium in Kamarinyi, which is historic, will be complete.
If it were not for the broken gate, you will be forgiven if you called this a grazing field.
So instead of 5 stadiums, we actually went for 9, just to make it good and to make it better.
And Baba Raila Odinga has a nickname for Ruto due to this.
Within 6 months, each and every child is going to be having a laptop in all our schools. It's a 6 month.
Say what?
It's a 6 month.
Exit Stadia enter recent quote-unquote hot air projects like the 1 billion shilling Kabonyo Kanyagwal Fisheries and Aquaculture Center in Kisumu County that was launched by President Ruto in October last year.
And I want to commit to the people of Kabonyo and Kisumu that we are embarking on this project, and before December next year, this project is going to be complete.
So as you can see here, this is our main gate.
Almost a year down the line, if you thought that fishermen and fisherwomen are already flocking the center, oh, this is what civic educator Kebaso found on the ground.
That's our Nile Perch lab. That's where we do research on Nile Perch and tilapia. So here we have the administration block, and here we have the finance office.
And the list of stories Ajaba goes on and on.
Tumesema sasa tutaweka pesa ya serikali kupunguza gharama ya mtungi ya gas. Ile ya kilo 6 mnanunua 2,500, 2,800, tutaishukisha chini mpaka shilingi 500 ama 300. I commit to provide mothers of newborn babies with diapers for their children for a minimum of 3 months paid for by the government of Kenya. Simu utakuwa unapiga free of charge. Simu haitakuwa inakatika kwa sababu sasa tutakuwa tumedeploy internet. Na utakuwa unaweza na vijana wataweza kufanya biashara online.
Stories Ajaba. Hizo ni hadithi za Ajaba. Stories Ajaba. Hadithi.
And it continues and continues. And Kenyans are fed up, literally fed up. So this is where we are. But I think, I think the government has got they've got the word. Kenyans are not taking this lightly, and as much as they want to make fun of it, because Kenyans are known to be hilarious humans, we are fun people, we like to make fun of things. The fact is that these are very important issues, in our society. This is about our leader. He is the role model for all the children in the country. And he is supposed to be somebody who keeps his word. I don't really know why he needed to do all that campaigning. Like Edwin Sifuna said, if he just spoke the truth, he would still been elected. He didn't need to exaggerate, and manipulate and lie. So many promises. Yeah, Fia in the UK, she's saying promises and more promises. I tell you, Fia, if I could just, there's so much out there, even more interesting ones. But it's so sad when people make so many promises and then they don't keep them. Yeah. And you can see that Raila Odinga actually called him Mr. 6 months, in 6 months this, 6 months that. There's nothing worse than being undependable. Somebody who is not dependable, somebody's not a person of their word. It's not a good thing. So what I would hope is that he will actually, take stock of all this and take the criticism that is coming from you and me, the regular people out here, and take it seriously and change his strategy and his approach, because this is just not working. It's not. Yeah.
I was listening again to Mutahi Gunyi, and he was sort of like giving the other side of the story. So he was saying, then they were giving examples of past presidents and said how they don't really always, they don't, in terms of meeting their election promises. He's the one who got 42% or something like that. He's the one who got 42% or something like that. Uhuru 20, Uhuru's government 20 something percent. So they were saying that, um, give him, the Kenya Kwanza have just been in power for like 26 months and we're already judging him. But I thought that's what he said. And I'm just playing, sharing, that's a viewpoint maybe of others that some other Kenyans may have that, they've not had enough time and we're judging early. But I think the point here is that, like you said, why give a timeline on something without fact checking? Why? So it makes it clearer that you are just saying that so that you're not sincere. You're saying that so that you can achieve an immediate objective, which is possibly to convince me to give you my vote, or for me to say that you're doing your job well. In fact, even the IBC question, one of the questions that came up was that the government doesn't obey court orders. They don't. In January, an order was made that they should, constitute the IBC, that they should have, the commissioners in place, and we're in November. In June, I think the challenge came out again, and if I'm not wrong, he said within 10 days, the 30th of June, I saw a poster, 30th of June, and he was asked again, this is our president, and he said, oh, within 30 days, we'll have the commissioners. I mean, we're in November again. So when it comes to being truthful, it's like it doesn't matter whether one is truthful or not. And there's a quotation I'd like to share with you here, which says, the post-truth era shows the collapse of the foundation on which a building called truth was built. The collapse of the foundation on which a building called truth was built. This is Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. And that's what he said. And he said also, a free society cannot function in the absence of
Susan, we can't hear you. Your internet is a little bit shaky. Looks like Susan is frozen over there. Zapayura, why don't you say something then? If you have anything.
As a norm.
Susan, we missed
Okay,
most
I'm
of what
back.
you said. Yeah, we missed most of what you said. Yeah. Okay, so maybe you want to repeat that.
Okay, two quotations. One is collapse of the foundations on which the post-truth era is the collapse of the foundation on which a building called truth was built. And then the second one was a free society cannot function in the absence of trust. Honesty in public life depends on truth as a norm. And we can see there, we're so desensitized as humans, as people, that telling the truth doesn't matter. And it's because the foundation has collapsed. And, we're in for the quick wins. We're more interested in winning than in telling the truth. We don't care about our reputation. In fact, our reputation is unlikely to be tarnished these days by not being truthful. But you see the chants that are going out, like in the Embu, the Embu event that was there on Saturday, where, they were chanting this, they're saying somebody is not truthful. We've had chants like when people are chanting that the president is not truthful. And it's really serious when that happens, because, like I said earlier, the institutions, I have confidence in the institutions that are supposed to be protecting us, that are supposed to be the pillars on which our society is built, is so eroded that, and when those standards are eroded, even in our homes, telling lies, the post-truth era is occurring even in our smaller units, in our homes, in the schools, and you can see the teachers are the ones who are the biggest criminals in cheating, in supporting cheating of students. The teachers are there, and some parents too. There was some parents who were arrested who were posing as teachers. This is happening in our homes. What are we teaching our children when you don't want them to have the confidence that I am able to sit this exam on my and gain these points on my own merit? What is it that we're teaching our children? And it's an area of big concern, because it means that we have to keep checking everything that we read in the newspaper also, because of the fake news. We keep getting people who are able to say, oh, this is fake news. How do you know? They are able to triangulate the information and say, this photo was not taken here, it was taken somewhere else, or this was a picture taken 3 years ago, in this sort of thing. I know on the social media platforms, some of them I've had to tell them, especially when it came to the swearing in of our current deputy president. I don't know whether you saw those posts saying, showing that he's being sworn in. And on one post I commented, I said, but that is not genuine. The deputy president has to be sworn in by the chief justice or the deputy chief justice. This person you're seeing there is not either of those. So it's not a genuine picture. So, please, let's
So
be
now
careful.
you're bringing up the issue of AI. We're in the world of AI, and what is truth and what is not truth is even more difficult to ascertain. Sorry to interrupt you there, but there's in our local language, in my local language, we have like people living in the diaspora, Kenyans living in the diaspora, and when they come here to invest, sometimes they're defrauded by the people. Like for example, you want to buy a piece of land, and you go and you think that you're talking to the owner of the piece of land, and then you find that you have been defrauded a whole bunch of money, because that land has been sold over and over again. So that has become a culture of deceit. And in the Kikuyu language, the word is atunyani. Yeah, so you'll hear people say the country has become a country of people who takers. Yeah, takers. Yeah, so that is one of the big difficulties of our country, is that one of the big difficulties of investments. That's the reason why we're losing a lot of investors. We're losing a lot of investors in the securities exchange. We are actually losing investors, people who want to invest in our countries, people who could create jobs. Why? Because people want to kick back. It's all part of the culture of deceit. You will inflate prices. When you see a tourist, you inflate prices to what it's not supposed to be. We should actually have, we should have a culture. If you ever travel to countries where lies are not the norm, you'll find that as an African, as a Kenyan, you'll be really struggling, really struggling to keep on route, to do right. Why? Because you always project or imagine that there could be some sort of negative repercussion, or somebody who wants a bribe at the end. So the thing is that you're so surprised, and that's the reason a lot of people, we don't talk about these things, but a lot of people migrate out of countries because of these problems, because the whole country has become a country of takers, people who take from you, people who steal from you, thieves, because theft and lying and murder, they're all part of the same thing. Yeah, murderers, thieves, liars, defrauders, they're all doing the same thing. Cheaters, they're all they're doing the kind of same thing. It's all about deception. It's all about being comfortable with deception. So I think we need to actually really reflect as a society and ask ourselves, is this really what we inherited from our parents, from our grandparents? Did we inherit it? Maybe the younger generation can say yes, but for me, my generation, I can say absolutely not. In fact, lying and stealing and taking and murdering were looked down upon. in African society. That was not our society. That was not the society that we had. We were built on truth. We were a person of their word. Yeah. And truth was always tested. Everything was tested. And if you were known to be a liar and a thief, you could even be given a nickname. And everybody would get to know it, and nobody would entrust you with anything. And even you and your generation and your children could also, it's the same thing. Like, for example, if you're an alcoholic, you might be given a name as an alcoholic. If you're a liar, you'll find that your whole family has actually been given that lie, that lie name. You're being tagged with a name, and it's become your name, your family name. Yeah. So I think, we should not underestimate the importance of our reputations. I think, if you don't have, I was brought up to be honest and to be truthful. But if you are going to punish, if the government is going to punish people who speak truth, then in that case, they're responsible for creating a culture of deception, of lies, of murderers and thieves, and one that is completely ungovernable, and one that is not going to be attractive to people who would want to invest in our country. Even internally, even our own people will not want to invest in a country where they're thieves, liars, murderers, because it's all part of the same thing. We can't talk about lying without talking about murder, without talking about theft, without talking about, because, lies, theft, they're all part of the same thing. Greed, it's all part of it. And in fact, even the Catholic bishops talked about the runaway greed, the untamed greed. It's all part of the lies and the culture. And we need to actually fight. We mothers, women especially, we need not to adopt this. We have to stop it. Not just because you're Christian, you're Muslim, just because it's wrong. And we need to reestablish that culture of telling truth and demanding it and punishing lies. Because you see, a small lie graduates to a bigger lie, graduates to something, to an impact on somebody that can even lose their life or lose their job or lose their reputation, it's serious. It's not even a small thing. That's the reason why we're even talking about it here. But anyway, to wind up, I think I'm just going to say thank you guys for the lively discussion. There's somebody called David Tirop. He's made a comment that I can't really understand very well. David, next time you want to communicate, please communicate in a way that I understand, that we can understand it. Maybe make it a bit shorter. Then he says he's kind of like not really with us on this, but he's saying even American Trumpists, MAGAs, Tea Partyists, and Brown Boys and Klan think and believe they've nailed it this time. Oh, I get it now. It's a huge blessing. MAGA. Okay, yeah, MAGA is okay, you get it. It's a huge blessing to be empty-headed so that you can receive ideas but never generate any of your own. Okay, I think I understand what he's saying. He's talking about the people who are extreme, the extreme supporters of Trump, or should we call them, the people who are intolerant of people from other races. They think that they have won something or they think that according to him, he says that they may think that they have won something at this time. Actually, to be honest, I think that this particular election, apart from a few pockets of aggression that I've heard of, it's not as bad as the last time, the way I hear. And I'm praying to God that it's not going to develop like that, because we had people from all races, from all races, ages, and social structures voting for Trump this time. This time he won in 7 swing states, all 7 swing states. Yeah. So I think that the representation is high, very, very high for all groups. So I don't think that this time, I think he should have also learned a few lessons, from the last election. So we just have to also demand, that there's going to be, that he's trustworthy. And also it reflects in terms of the people that he picks to lead. Because I've seen in his leadership, I haven't seen very many people of color in his leadership. And we want to see them. We want to see them. We want to see the women. We've seen women, but we haven't seen enough people of color. And we need to see that representation in his team. Because we in Africa, many of us are supporting him. But if he doesn't have representatives that look like us, he'll soon lose our support just because of that. He'll lose some people's support because of that. Yeah. because he has to be seen to be egalitarian based on the people who also voted for him. Yeah. And of the
Okay,
society itself. Yeah. Okay, Susan, I'm
you had
done. Yeah.
okay. You had asked about the integrity. Is there anything to? Is there any remedy? Is there any way that the citizenry can respond and really take hold the political class to account? And I was looking at the Constitution. Indeed, there's Article 10, which talks about national values and principles of governance. One of them is integrity, and we know there's a case in the High Court brought by Kenya Bora Tuitakayo and 6 others, including the former deputy president. They want to get some orders to support impeachment of the president. And of course, the impeachment of the president is based on 31 breaches of the constitution, the Kenya constitution. So we have, for the members of parliament, that is members of the National Assembly, National Assembly and Senate, and also of the county assemblies. They have the system of recall, so they can be recalled, and they can be recalled from the August House because they've gone to do what they were not supposed to do. Then, of course, there's the impeachment process. We saw it firsthand with the impeachment process of the former deputy president. That applies for both the president and the deputy president with some modifications. So that is covered in Article 145 and 150 of the Constitution. Talking about the issue of public participation, again, we come face to face with the issue of truth. What is it called again? The topic we're talking about, where the constituents said one thing, and then they came up with a completely different record, which was submitted in Parliament, you know, and said this is what the citizens said, impeach Gachagua. But the MPs, I heard one who was actually sitting in one of the panels in one of the media houses. He was saying he saw the statistics from his particular constituency, and he said it was all fabricated information, because his constituents said, no, don't impeach Gachagua. Please address these other issues which are disturbing us. Our children are not in school, there's unemployment, there's the access to health care. Those are the priorities. This impeachment of Gachagua is not a priority right now. So he was surprised to see the statistics, and he said it was all fabricated. In fact, one of the other panelists, I was listening to him, he's a former Minister for Agriculture, is called Kipruto Arapkirwa, and he said, with this post-truth era that we're in Kenya, it's so easy for figures to be fabricated, and we are told, oh, we're doing well, and things are just being fabricated. Like I mentioned earlier, some of the information, if we triangulate it, the one that's coming from the government, we might find that, in fact, those changes are not as a result of government action. They cannot attribute it to their action, but it is because of a global trend or a global pattern, for instance, on the issue of fuel. So those are the remedies that are there. The wananchi have. They can impeach president, deputy president. They can impeach. They can also do recall for the National Assembly and Senate, and also the county assemblies. For the governor, it's impeachment, just like for the deputy president and the president. So there are those remedies that are available. And what usually will be used is the infringement of the constitution, and there are several articles that cover them. So, like that case I was talking about, the claim was that the presidency has breached 31 articles of the Constitution. So we don't know how far that case will go. That's interesting. The other thing, just in closing, is the use of the euphemisms is now an art form. For instance, instead of the minister, the permanent secretary, and the CS for education, instead of saying that people have got the papers early, they're calling it early exposure. You know, early exposure to the exam. Yeah, early exposure, and it's the word they have coined to water
Susan,
down
today
how
I think
serious
the English language is growing. We need a dictionary for Kenya specifically. At the early exposure.
Yeah, they don't want to say it's cheating, that they've got advanced copies, so they're calling it early
And
exposure.
attempted cheating.
So that's what
Okay,
we
we
have
have a
there.
linguist on board. We need help with this. Oh boy, next time we come here. Oh, did you hear this? At the early exposure to the exam. It's like a virus. Or what? Or is it,
Yeah,
what is
that's what has been called, and it's a political term. They don't want to admit that the exam has been leaked and people have the papers, so they call it early exposure. And then the other one is levy for uplifting academic grades. I'll leave it to you to guess what that is likely to mean in a budget line. What do you think that means? Levy for uplifting academic grades. What do you think that means?
That's kind of confusing, you know.
What are you talking? At a levy. They're calling it a levy. It's a tax.
Yeah,
So it's
in
a
schools
tax.
when
It's a tax for corruption, bribery.
when the students when the parents are paying school fees, some schools have this levy for uplifting academic grades. I mean, it could be a genuine thing in terms of getting past papers and stuff, but it could also mean something else. Yeah.
Yeah, it could also
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. It's all part of the culture of lies and deceit and stealing and all that. Yeah. But you see, the thing is, it happens undercover. It happens undercover in many schools that teachers are paid extra to train a child or to pay attention to a specific child in school. So they're paid extra by the parent. It happens a lot. And sometimes it even happens without the knowledge of the principal.
No, but sorry to interrupt, but
It's okay.
it doesn't say levy for I mean academic performance or academic I don't know, enhancement, or it says for the grades, you know, so the grades will be, you know,
Yeah, uplifting. They're calling it
uplifted,
uplifting of academic grades. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's obvious.
It just doesn't sound nice. It doesn't sound right. It just sounds very fishy.
Yeah, you can use hyperbola. You can use euphemism as well. Sometimes you inflate it, sometimes you deflate it.
And the other thing, remember the money that was given by the president, the 5 million? They said, and they were very clear. They were saying, Kindiki was saying, this is a sadaka offering. It's offertory, because you remember that Harambe's fundraisers were banned. Yeah, they're banned. There's no law. They have to develop a law to regulate it. So they're banned. So now they said this is sadaka. This is an offertory. So the president gave 5 million and the deputy
5
million
million. Can you
2.
imagine going to
Yeah.
church and giving 5 million shillings, which is
Well,
equivalent to $50,000 as an
he
offertory?
told them,
As an
what's
offertory
interesting,
on that
yeah,
plate. Would it even fit on that offertory plate in church? Would it?
What?
Would it even fit in the basket?
No, he didn't
They need a vault. They need a vault somewhere for the offertory.
No. Yeah. So that's what there was 5 million and 2 million, and then the previous day there was 5 million that was given to build the bishop's house or something like that. And the bishop was told to come to State House on Monday or Tuesday to get the money. And then President Uhuru said, because he was at the one in Embu, he said, I have my envelope here, and it's a white envelope. It doesn't have many stories. and I want to give it. And he didn't say how much it was. He said, I've brought my offertory and I want to give it and leave. But the person who was preaching, and he was a white man, he talked about the brown envelopes that the clergy get when they go to State House. So you can see the euphemism there again is something called a brown envelope. And when you're told to come to State House, maybe you leave with a brown envelope. So this is the post-truth era. So that issue of the money, it's caused there's been a lot of heated arguments on the social media about it, because there are concerns or wondering, so much money, and we have so many issues with money as Kenyans. So is it your money? Is it state money that has been given? Is it from the presidency kitty? Where's the source of that money? And those issues and those questions are coming out. So, and they're saying, okay, you've given 5 million to one church. With all the churches you visit, will you give all of them 5 million? Sort of questions. So there were a lot of debates there, and calling it offertory. They were very clear it should not be given another name. It should be offertory. But they said, and then the argument again was that usually when you're giving an offertory, you don't announce. It's
Exactly. You're
supposed to be
not
a
supposed to
secret.
let the one hand know what the other hand is doing, isn't it? According to Christian teachings. But I mean, yeah, okay. Anyway, I think we can wind up here. Zapayoro, you have anything else to say? Thank you, Susan, for your very interesting contributions there.
Like we said, like we said, it's a global. Well, when we say it's a global issue, I mean it's very spread. That practice, that culture, of lying to the people. Of course, I will not mention what happens in Ivory Coast. Is really it come out of hand at some point. Well, anyway, just to say that we have abandoned our values. African leaders did not talk a lot. They don't used to talk a lot. I mean, if you can see that culture with traditional leaders, they don't talk a lot, because it is not everything that should be said, to the public. Everything shouldn't be said, but you are sure that when you say something, it is true. You communicate what is important for the people to know. But this also implies that you have integrity. You are there to work for your people, But nowadays, you see politicians talk a lot. They talk a lot because that's the new model we have adopted. Yeah, the new style. The more talkative they are, the more people like them, and even the people are used to that. They like to be entertained, and everything because we have drifted from our own models, our own cultures, our own culture. Sorry. So we need to revisit, the past and our culture, because we had reached a very high level in terms of social engineering, social governance, political governance. This was after the collapse of the Egyptian and the Kush empires. Africa started drifting away from the materialistic approach, the materialistic civilization. So we were no longer interested in technology. We Africans had created mathematics, science, and everything, but we're no longer interested in technology and material things. We're now focusing on the society, how to organize people, how to create harmony between people. So we have a lot of wisdom, but unfortunately, materialistically speaking, we were not ready. We did not have the technology, the weapons to fight, during invasions. So we shouldn't abandon everything. It's not because we did not have technology. It's not because we are interested in Western technology. But now it has become Western technology because, of course, people have taken from Africans, and they have I mean, they have. I don't know if we say they have perfected it, but anyway, they have owned it now. So it is not because we want to copy Western technology that we have to abandon our culture. See, our culture, because these are issues we had already sorted out. You know, how to talk to the people in public, how to avoid lying, you know, and what consequences it has, you know, on the trust and, you know, the people having you, and yeah, all those things. We need to go back to our culture. Yeah, corruption and truthfulness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
fear of betraying the people. Fear of
Mhm.
betraying the people. So
Yeah, like there was somebody who said we need that the president needs to learn how to respect the people. That is definitely missing, because somebody you respect, you don't lie to. You just don't. It just shows complete total disrespect for your people. Total disrespect. Now, thank you very much for that, Zapari. Now, before we wind up, I wanted to go back to that video before I even forgot. Yeah. About this one that was showing somebody that we know.
Hi, my
Yeah.
name is Tony.
I'll move it.
Using what the last 10 years
Yes.
is putting in place. The back-end costs are, say the cost per query is a few cents. That's prohibitive. So we have to get it down to like 1/10 of a cent or 100th of a cent. The software's getting better. The hardware's getting better.
Yeah.
So I think we're on a roadmap where the back-end thing, even for low cost subscriptions, won't be limiting.
Do you think Africa is ready for AI right now?
I'm impressed at the energy already going into it, and we want to facilitate that. In some cases, Africa can be very much on the forefront.
Okay, anybody want to respond? Now, the question that I had there, especially towards the end, do you think that Africa is ready for AI? What did Bill Gates say? He said that he is impressed at the energy and he wants to facilitate that. Yeah. And then he said, yeah, sure, Africa could be ready for AI. But then, if you notice that throughout the whole video, the heads were nodding. Both, they were nodding. They were in agreement. But towards the end, when he said, well, then it went like that. And that shows that when you're speaking and your head is nodding this way, you're actually negating your words.
yeah.
You're negating your words. So all the way through the whole video, you saw him, acknowledge, yes, there's a problem. Oh, this is great. This is a good idea. But as soon as the question was, do you have capacity? Are you ready for this? He was saying yes, but he was nodding his head this way. Yeah. And that already tells you that there's a potential that what he was saying, he did not mean. And we tend to miss out on a lot of things because we listen, but we don't watch. So we need to be watching how people talk to us, what they're saying, as well as how they're saying it, what comes out of their words and what their body is actually doing. Yeah. And I believe it's also cultural. It's also very cultural because, like, for example, in our, and again, also the other thing that changed is the shift in the eyes. At one point, there was looking at each other straight up. But once the head started to shake, the eyes started to look a different direction. And those are things that you pick up. They're very minor. And, they're the softer issues and you can miss them. And this is how you can identify a liar, okay, in that particular context, in that particular culture. Now, in our culture, you will find that many Africans, when they no longer believe what you have to say, what do Africans do? They keep quiet. They just withdraw and they just keep quiet and they listen. If they're not engaging with you, it means they don't trust you. It means they don't believe you. But if they're engaging with you, isn't it? Zapayero, I see you're nodding.
I agree.
I believe you're agreeing with me, right? So Africans in our culture is that when we agree with you, we will be engaged. But when we don't agree with you, mostly it's only now that people are actually openly and shouting and saying things, like you said, talking a lot. But traditionally in our cultures, we just keep quiet and withdraw and tune out, literally, and then politely say goodbye. But what that means is that we don't accept you, we don't trust you, etc. Zapari, you want to say something quick before we just wind up?
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. I know that it's very good. No, that's it requires a lot of attention and a lot of practice and sometimes expertise to debunk those kind of things, those signs. Yeah, but what you say is absolutely true. But what I know also, I also know that in many political circles, people are trained, but still, even if they are trained to lie, they know how to use their body to lie. They have a fake smile and everything, but there are still ways to debunk those things. Exactly, you can still debunk those things. Yeah. And if people have a lot of, if we enhance people's knowledge and awareness and expertise about those things, yeah, they'll be easily able to tell, when somebody's lying to them on TV. When a politician is lying to them.
Susan, the last word before I wind up. Thank you very much, Zapayoro. Thank you. Sorry to cut you short. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Are you done? Sorry?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just to reiterate the basics, and from Alex Edmonds, he says, only if it's true can it be fact. Only if it's representative can it be data. Only if it's supportive can it be evidence. Only if it's evidence can we move from a post-truth world to a pro-truth world.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted again. Wonderful. And I think, we should keep on, reiterating Edmund's words every time that we have our shows to remind ourselves, what is truth, because we have to stand by truth. There's a YouTuber that I follow, and I used to follow for a long time, and her name is what is it? Something to do with truth. I even forgot the name of the person. But anyway, basically what her channel is all about, the truth. You know what I mean? Stand by truth or something like that, And it's like, it's because it's something that is so rare and yet it's so valuable. It's so valuable. So I think, Susan, I agree with you. I don't think I have any other words, and just to say to all of you who were participating, thank you so much. Welcome again and see you next time. Those of you who came in, also Victor who came in. Oh yes, the name of the channel is called Never Lose Truth. Never Lose Truth. That's the name. Yeah. So never lose truth. Never lose your truth. Yeah, that's a really good channel. And that's because she stands by the truth. At least she believes in the truth. So, okay. And I want to say thank you to Methusia, Martin, Rashias Kaiman, Fia, and Fanny, and David Tirop. Thank you very much for being in our comment section. We hope to see you next time. We're here again on Wednesday. If you guys have any topics, if you guys want to join us in studio, don't worry about us having done our research in advance. We're really happy to hear from you, the raw information. If you want to come and complain, come and complain. You're welcome. If you want to come in and give us a new perspective, or even just add to what we're saying, or even acknowledge what we're saying, that's fine, yeah? But we also appreciate your participation in the comment section too, okay? So see you on Wednesday. We'll have a new topic for you, but we'll remember never to lose truth, okay? Because truth is what will set us free. All right. Bye-bye and good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
And good day, wherever you are. Okay, bye-bye. Yeah.